Welcome everyone to the 165th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique thingy flob that we do here.
Hello.
Today we have Fluffy's Eye
Hello.
and
And we have
myself.
the zombie.
Yeah, hi. And then there's a peanut gallery.
Yeah, Kipinski's is kind of nowhere to be found. I haven't even heard from her, and Ali is not doing well, so she's going to be resting.
I think Q Pencil Case might be stuck in an avalanche of fluff.
Maybe it wouldn't surprise me for how her adventures in her room goes.
Yeah. So, this week we have 3 submissions so far. First one up is Vatron. With these little cuties, with the little CNC things. Remember when they didn't have those butt marks?
It was a while back.
It was great. Then they had that crazy bender over in Las Pegasus, and they all got butt tattoos. So, buddy, you got any questions for us about this picture in particular? Or about any picture, really? We take questions.
But especially this one.
Yeah. What about the shading? It's something I like to work on, but globally really struggle with. Shading is hard, but it can also be fun. One of the issues I definitely see in yours is you did not choose a light source for everything. So you have what seems to be a pretty consistent light source on the ponies, but then cast on everything else is not. What I mean by that is your shadow, your light is coming very much from the. Oh, let's do green on green. That's a good choice. Your light source is coming from this way, and it sort of does a cone like yo. It's falling, yeah, it's falling our side towards them. The problem with the shading that's falling from where they are is if it's going to follow that, it's actually going to cast behind them, mostly. So you get shading like this.
Just quickly have to say I do love the colored shading you got going on. It's very nice. It's not just grayscales. That's really good to see.
Yeah. Always use those colors. And I think that would correct your shading. So, what I love to do for pictures, if I'm ever going to shade them, is I will draw on that arrow of where I want my light source coming from if it's not clear for me.
Yeah.
Makes life easy. You're using digital, so you got all the layers in the world to do it. A little more annoying on traditional because then you gotta erase something. Yes, the bush right here is totally different. It's like a very soft shade versus the cell shading that's going on over here. So I'm just following what you're doing.
Now my tablet just randomly disconnects every 5 minutes or so, which is annoying because it's kind of broken. Was it letting me move? It's letting me move. I always struggle. Where I struggle the most with shading is on the faces, particularly around the eyes and ears and how they blend into the cheeks and stuff. So failure on that one. It is tricky, but I think let's see. So the face is like this. I can see what you're sort of trying to do here because the nose, and it's oh well, maybe there's shadow casting on the face now, but I think basically there should be more of a sort of cheek highlight here, if that makes sense. Let's experiment and see what happens. I don't know if LD has any knowledge of facial shading and can help, because I'm just winging it, seeing what sticks. I know there's a cheek bump.
I like to throw a little mesh on them if I'm gonna get fancy with shading. What I mean by that is we'll take Scootaloo's face over here. Going with color. So we know
Oh,
that it's
there we go.
going to be rounded here.
I like that. I just...
Round.
Yeah, yeah. I sometimes try to do that. It's just a little bit trickier with the front on.
Yeah, the muzzles become annoying.
Yeah, the muzzles are and noses, and I find the ears as well, like where they drift into the head, is also a little bit tricky to get down.
You definitely don't do this every time. I just sort of early on I was doing it, but now I've drawn enough ponies that I sort
Yeah,
of
yeah, same
understand the
here.
head enough, hopefully, or at least I play knowing well enough on TV. Yeah, but basically I just try and mesh out the head and slowly develop where the pits are, where the light would be rolling off, and how it works in 3D. It really helps having a 3D model with you. So I've used things like the 3D models that are found in Gmod. I've used clay models that I've made. I've used toys and plushies just to sort of have a visual reference of muzzle sticks out, falls off, light rolls. It really helps having a live, like some type of thing that you can help
Yeah,
interpret that 3D.
yeah, and I mean, like, with ponies, it's tricky because the 3D models we have aren't really 100% exact, but they're good enough to sort of go off of and get an idea of how they sort of work in 3D space.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't figure it out already. Okay. Sparrow I got for the shading, I think. Did my best. It's not very good, but there we go.
That's good. No, it's improved it. You've continued that light tracing.
Yeah. Messed up Apple in his face a bit, but yeah.
I think I'll add a bit more heavy shading on the bow up there. Small areas like that. Cast the ear a
Yeah,
bit longer back here.
yeah, that could work.
You definitely need to get some more pony plushies and set them all up.
And hug them and then set them up again.
Um, Another thing, like your pictures looks good, but there's nothing really going on. Like it's three of them together.
Hmm.
I've seen a fair bit of your art where it's very character focused and it's sort of like a snapshot in time. What can
And
really help
it's
sorry?
that's right. You can.
What can really help your pictures for the future ones is trying to tell a bit of a story in it. So how did they get there? Where are they going? Where have they come from? Right now, all we see is they're maybe in a field somewhere, sitting down, enjoying the sun. Yeah. Well,
Mm,
how can we expand upon this story? Adding
yeah.
adding certain elements of scenery, like if you're to put a pony off in the distance, waving to them. You could have the camera that appears to be taking this picture, or casting a shadow down across the ground. Visual elements like that help expand the story that your picture's telling. It might help improve your future pictures.
Yeah. And I sometimes quite like to see just like really simple stuff because personally kind of need a lot of motivation to follow through with actually finishing a picture because it just takes like a long time and a lot of effort. So like it kind of needs to have that importance of like, is something going on? What am I telling with this picture? What sort of story is happening here? Because it needs to have that in order to even exist. If I'm just drawing a character, it's like, well, what is that really accomplishing, and what's my effort sort of going towards? But so I sort of respect when I see stuff like this where it's just like, oh, it's just the characters being happy and just being together. But there are other ways to do that, that you can have that cute, simple, just like a pony having fun time, but make it a little bit more interesting and like substantial. Like you could have them doing an activity around a table or something, or just like, or exploring through some forest and sort of each looking around in a different direction as they walk or something like that. There are lots of scenarios you can develop.
find the artist real quick. There is an artist that I really like for how they do their pictures, because basically they write a story with every picture, and it definitely helps them create or guide the narrative of how their picture is going to be set up. I know this all sounds fluffy and wishy-washy and, oh, you're going to drink your tea with your finger up, but no, it honestly does improve pictures. It takes it from a snapshot of time, or from, I don't know, it takes it from just a snapshot of characters to a snapshot of time. There you go.
Yeah, because at the moment it's sort of like they're posing for like a picture, you know. Whereas you want it to feel like it's like you're just watching an episode and took a screenshot, you know.
Oh, I'll find them. All right, whatever. I'll send you links later. I swear.
Message him until he sends them to you.
All right. Cool. I'm interested to see what you come up with next. If you got any other questions, we'll be happy to answer them. If not, we'll continue on our way. Alright then. Let's go. Let's go to the one on
Ooh.
the left of that. This is
One to the left?
Yeah. So this is by Stamus. I've been playing around with charcoal, and I gotta say, I love the medium. I'm not sure how to apply it on my tablet. I only use the eraser, blend tool, and design tool on CSP, same layer.
As long as you're not using your coal physically on the surface of your tablet, then you're good. That's the first step.
That's pretty fair.
Your tablet has a specific tool called a stylus, and that's what you need to use. But it looks like you've been doing that, so that's cool. So I mean, firstly, yeah, like trying to mimic traditional mediums outside of maybe like a pencil, you can get some pretty good convincing like mechanical pencil tools and such. But other than that, and some like paintbrushy ones, getting like a really physical medium looking effect is pretty hard. Where you can sort of take like the concept of them right and find similar tools that have a similar sort of effect and what it feels like to draw with those tools, even if it looks a little bit different. I think you've got a nice sort of idea going on here. But it depends what you're trying to accomplish, really. Are you trying to sort of explore tools and discover different ways that you can paint, or is it more about trying to learn to draw using like grayscales and values? You'll have to answer us later. This isn't a person who's in the chat, is it? I'm assuming.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, you have to let us know.
So I think one of the things that seems to be lacking most in this picture is it's very soft. So you said you're using the blending brush and the eraser and some grayscale. That's great. I mean, that the rubbing is a lot of what using your charcoals on actual traditional medium is. Yeah, rub it around and try and reduce the values and try and blend it over. And it works great for doing that. But one of the things that charcoal is very good at doing too is creating very sharp and defined lines while doing that.
Yeah.
So don't. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of blending, like around the back, especially. That could be a bit harder.
Yeah, don't be afraid of trying to make those deep defined lines. They will definitely help bring out more, well, detail to your picture.
Hmm. Something minor that I sort of noticed quite quickly is that there's quite a contrast in the values. Like there are lots of sort of darks around here, but then there's not like this is sort of maybe a little bit close, but then there's not really much that sort of mimics it anywhere else in the picture. So it'd be really good to sort of increase the darks in other places if you're going to have this contrast around the head, and it works. Just sort of make sure that you don't have one particular part of the picture that has a lot of blacks and then not use that other places. Even if you think, oh well, this is an area where obviously like there's a lot of shadow cast because it's like the head and the mane and everything, but I don't think other areas are like you can still sort of find places where a lot of shadow is being cast and balance those values a bit more. Right, tablet turn off again.
That's all I got. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some character shaping stuff, but this looks less about the pony and more about the technique behind it.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
think.
I
Yeah.
don't want to start critiquing things that they don't necessarily. We don't know if it's what they want us to break apart. You know.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next one then.
Sleepy Pond.
Sleepy Luna. So this was submitted by. Nope, not them. Not them. It was them. Lions. They said hi. That is their entire post.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. I don't know what to say, but hello. I'm here, and I would like, and I would love if someone could give me a hint of what should be doing. Thank you. Ooh.
Okay. So, I mean, the first thing that I think sort of stood out to me, I'd say, is how she's resting on the ball. Essentially, she's occupying this space on the side here. I mean, it's likely a moon, but I say ball just because it's a spherical shape, you know. Um, she's occupying this sort of space I've outlined here, like very much on the side. Um, whereas if you think about the shape, there's like a lot of space. She could be sitting closer to the top, I think. Whereas I would do it a little bit more like, let's do this off to the side so I don't scribble all over your stuff.
Doodle, doodle, doodle.
So you can have let's bring the head down a little bit. Have her maybe like have the hoof coming out from under her cheek like this. The other one sort of resting down. You can have like maybe one leg sort of like resting over this side of the moon or ball or sphere or whatever, and have the other one sort of hidden behind, like she's just sort of draped over the top, you know. And you can have this leg sort of disappearing over the top here to show that she's really like, and the body as well to show that she's really sitting right on the top and having her weight balanced over the shape. Because at the moment where she's sitting, it's sort of like she's right on the side, and I just imagine her sliding off. And it also kind of doesn't really show much of the shape of the ball because she's sort of like sitting in this like exact square, whereas the shape of the ball is sort of coming out in this rounded shape, and it's like she's sort of cutting into that a little bit. So doing something to show her limbs sort of stretching around this shape, I think, would do you a lot of good.
Oh, hi, Fuzzy Pons.
Hello.
Well, that's the person's name. I know you're a fuzzy pony too.
I was saying hello to them as well, but yes, hello from.
Fuzz off.
Are we gonna have a war between Fuzz and Fluff now? Is that gonna be? a thing. You know, curtail our approach of the fluffering with your fuzzening. It's not gonna happen, dude.
If too fuzzy.
And yes, technically, Fuzzy Pony, if this was an actual moon, yes, centrifugal force pushes her inwards, and and it would hold her on. But I'm just going by like we're looking at a pony laying on a ball, but she's laying on like the side of the ball, okay? And personally, I just think it would look a little bit nicer and cuter for the pose to have this whole thing going on here with her body like draped over, because it's more chance to show this nice like sort of dangly limbs, even if you end up having to hide a leg. Don't be afraid to do that. Like if you have to like hide something to make a pose, but so many times it is really a really easy trap to fall into. But so many times that you can sort of get into the mindset of doing something a little bit backwards, like hiding something because or moving something to a position you don't want because you're trying to show something, or you're trying to get a certain pose to work when maybe it doesn't. Like sometimes you draw like a really nice undersketch and it's like, okay, well, I'll draw the head and the ears. Now time to put the mane on. Oh man, I don't want to cover up this other ear that I've drawn that's really nice. I'm going to make the mane squished into a weird shape so that the ear shows, and then the mane looks horrible, you know. Going on a bit of tangent, but sometimes it's okay to do things a little bit differently. Like, okay, maybe I'll just hide this leg to make the pose work a little bit more. Ooh.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say. You basically covered it. I will. Actually, that's a lie. I do have something else to say. But this is more about the subreddit. You made 2 posts this week. That's more than okay. Every 24 hours, we're more than happy for a post. We just chose this picture over the other one because this picture has more going on. The other one was just a face shot. So if you're wondering why we didn't critique both, that's why.
Yeah, we typically try to go for one picture, but by all means, post as many as you like and see if people will be nice enough to critique you. And if you're not getting enough activity there, you can always come join our Discord and throw it into the critique channel there, and people will be more than willing to help you out.
Yeah. So that's all we have for pictures this week. If anyone else has any pictures they'd like to submit, please feel free. Any other questions they'd like to ask, we'll be more than happy to help. If there is nothing more, though, we'll call it a week and see y'all again next week. It's like a time record here. What do we do? 30 minutes. A high phone.
When we don't have as many people, we get much less like debating art techniques and things.
No one? Okay then. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again next week. Bye!
Join us next time.